Hi, welcome back. We are back with the regular mic. The little mic was cute, but today we're gonna go for the big guns because I got a lot to say. This video will basically kind of be like first time trying a video essay. And if you don't know what a video essay is basically just a person. It's kind of like a podcast, but it's supposed to have a more like direct focus. I should have probably looked up what a video essay was before. Rate how you would write an essay talking about like introduction, body, and conclusion. Do that, but just put a video behind it. I'm going to start making video essays with the intent to educate, empathize, and to open up civil, keyword civil conversations about things that I've noticed in either my own personal life or in the world that I feel like I've always had an opinion about, but I've always had to keep it to myself. So yeah, this is my first time trying video essays, and I hope they're entertaining for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy them, and I hope that I like to make them, and let's just go from here. So 2 years ago, I made a video called What People Don't Tell You About Being a Liberal Arts Major, or something along those lines, and boy oh boy, I got so much hate for that video. Like, the initial response was so much hate. So much. First of all, that is my most popular video on my channel so far. It has over 3,000 views, which I'm like, I just saw that today and I was like, wow, for me, that's a lot. You know, I have 84 subscribers, so 3,000 views is a lot. The impressions on that video was over 26,000 people. I'm like, whoa, why couldn't they all watch the video? But you know, it's okay. Like, I got 3,000 views, over 26,000 impressions, as in people have either seen it pop up on their For You page on YouTube or like they have scrolled by it or whatever. The point is, over almost 27,000 people have had the chance to watch it, and over 3,000 people have watched it. And a lot of those people that watched it, I would say there's like there's like a lot of comments on that video, and I would say a good 98% of them are hate comments. Yeah. And it's not because I said something wrong or I said something out of like pocket or like something out of ignorance. It was simply because I gave an opinion that people didn't like. And I said that basically the whole point of the video was to acknowledge that what I didn't know about going into liberal arts, being a liberal arts major, is that you're going to get crapped on a lot for having a major, because for some reason you're not allowed to follow your dreams once you hit 13. Like, after 13, you're supposed to give up on dreams and just become realistic and be in the real world and just get something that's supposed to be stable and just do that for the rest of your life. Like, you're not able to take risks, and to, like, if you have a dream and you want to fulfill that dream and you want to pursue that dream, you're not allowed to like pursue the dream if it doesn't make you that much money, or if it's too much of a risk of not making you enough money to be stable, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times, a lot of liberal arts majors, when you think of liberal arts, you associate it with like writing, like English, and people that want to be writers. And a lot of people think, oh, you don't need to go to school to write, you can just do it on your own, or like, oh, that's not really a stable job, like there's no guarantee you'll make it big, and all this blah blah. But the thing about liberal arts is, it's not just English. There's like a bunch of other majors in liberal arts. Like, there's psychology is a liberal arts major, and psychologists can become therapists and become psychologists, and they make a bunch of money. That is a science major, but it's also considered liberal arts. And there's a bunch of liberal arts majors that aren't just about writing, but like they also make you think. I saw someone made a comment about in my video, a good comment, thankfully, that was saying how liberal arts majors, they teach you critical thinking, which is so accurate, because a lot of times when you're a liberal, I'm an English major who studies, I had to study in, like, my main goal is creative writing, but I do have to learn about literature at some points with certain classes, and a lot of the times they tell you to analyze. And when you analyze a text, you're not just reading it and talking about it, you're reading it, you're talking about what's happening in the book, but you're also talking about why that's happening in the book, what is meant to portray, and just deeply analyzing and critically thinking about the book itself. Like, let's say, oh, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is blue. Oh, why is that your favorite color? Oh, I don't know, because I just like the shades and this and that. Oh, but why? Oh, I think the color's pretty. Why? That's what analyzing is. It keeps asking you why, until you get to the core root of why you like the color blue or something. So that's basically what analyzing is. And basically, I was just talking about how there's a lot about liberal arts that people don't know unless you're either in liberal arts or you know someone that's in that art in that major. So you don't really know unless you're in or you have someone who's in that major. And a lot of people just assume that it's an easy major to do and it's a stupid major to have. So they ridicule it a lot. And I gave an example of STEM majors being a prime example of people that because their major guarantees them a higher chance of getting a 9-to-5 job that pays a lot of money, that because other people are going a different route with their career paths, that they ridicule them and belittle them and make them feel insignificant and small because, oh, your major isn't going to make you money, but mine is, so I have the right to feel like I'm superior to you and walk all over you like as if you're a piece of trash. And I'm just basically saying in the video, you shouldn't be doing that to people, like, because like just because I want to write movies and you want to save lives, or you want to work in engineering, or you want to become working with technician, that doesn't mean that you get to talk to me however you want. Like, I'm still a person too. And because I said that, a lot of STEM majors, or a lot of people that were in liberal arts, or they basically were telling me that, oh, sorry that you are just realizing that your major is going to lead you up to nothing and you're going to be a failure. You're going to have to take my McDonald's order. Oh, your YouTube career is over. Like, I got a lot of hate in that video. And then recently I've been getting good comments on it saying how the liberal arts majors it's so stigmatized. It needs to be destigmatized. It's ridiculous how many people aren't really seeing what liberal arts majors really do and how it's deeper than what you think it is. So recently I've been getting good comments on it. So I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, because that was like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first got hate comments on the video, I remember arguing with a guy. It may have been a girl, but from the picture, it looked like it was a guy. And we were going back and forth in the comment section because he was basically, I'm not going to read what the comments say. If you want to read the comments, they're still open. I didn't delete any comments because none of them were like crossing the borderline of being like racist, sexist, homophobic, or anything like that. So I didn't delete them. They were just ignorant people giving their opinions, and I just gave mine back. So if you want to read the comments, they're all there. I didn't delete a single comment off that video, but basically there was this one guy I was going back and forth with, and I was arguing with this person because I felt obviously annoyed that this person was being very rude and disrespectful to me. So I was arguing back, and then after like a day I was like, okay, I'm tired of this. I don't want to have to argue anymore. This is tiring. But I've come to the realization that the reason why these people were offended by what I said is because I told them that they shouldn't belittle other people. And that brings me back to the topic of this video, actually, of being in your 20s. And the topic is being in your 20s is confusing, but also I would say it's confusing because it's a lot of dealing with trying to get out of the era of multiple things, but one is being belittled 24/7 and being constantly told that your opinions mean nothing because of your youth, and how you need to wait until you're either have this type of authority or you have kids or whatever the case may be, that you have to wait until you're a certain age limit to then be able to have the right to give an opinion about something. And it reminded me of that because a lot of people in their 20s, in their early 20s, late 20s, I feel like being in your 20s is a phase of just becoming an adult, but maneuvering from being looked at as a child to being an adult, and also being given the respect, period. Because I feel like a lot of people don't give young people respect because they expect them to wait until you're 20. Oh, now you're in your 20s. Now I can start giving you respect that you should have gotten at the age of like 12. And it's just like, why are we waiting until we're in our 20s to then be like, oh, I can respect you now. Oh, now you're an adult. Now I can like treat you. And I'm not saying treat you like an adult. I'm saying treat you like a human. Because a lot of times, a lot of adults think that giving respect is, okay, I'm kind of going off topic here, but it'll make sense. I feel like being in my 20s, the whole point of me realizing it's confusing for a lot of reasons. One, because I've seen a lot of people in my generation get belittled, be talked down, be degraded because of our youth, and because we have opinions that a lot of people don't like, because it's usually about them and about something that they've done either wrong or something that we noticed that is like very interesting or just weird to us, and we want to know why they're doing this action. And because we are basically, it looks like we're coming for their identity, or we're coming at them about things that they do, and it's the only thing they know how to do. They feel attacked and they start attacking us. And the video of me talking about liberal arts majors being disrespected by other majors, and the example being STEM majors, it reminded me of me being in my 20s and me noticing that a lot in like growing up, I've noticed a lot of adults disrespect young people. And yes, it works both ways that a lot of young people do disrespect adults, but I feel like the reason why we're so disrespectful is because we never felt respect in the first place. How am I supposed to give you respect when you've never shown it to me in the first place? Because I think we just are repeating what was being done to us. Because I know up until like high school, I had a few. Now I was a good student overall in education. Even now, like I'm a grad student online, and I still get straight A's, occasional B's, but mostly straight A's. And I never really had any bad interactions with teachers in the sense of like I'm purposely being disrespectful with people. But I did have a few instances with teachers. I'm using teachers as an example of adults in my life disrespecting young people. And I've had a few instances in my life where I had an adult basically treat me like dirt. And then I just had to sit there and take it because I'm the kid in the situation. And one example I will give is I was 5 years old, and there was a situation where there was a teacher in my, like, I think kindergarten class. She did not like me. She just didn't like me. I don't remember why. I don't know what it was, but she really didn't like me, and I didn't like her because she didn't like me. I could sense that as a 5-year-old, I could sense a teacher didn't like me. Like, she was the only adult that really had it out to get me, because everyone else was nice to me but her. She was the only one that was rude to me. So there was an instance where I was 5 years old, and I was playing in recess. And I had a skateboard. Now, I say it's a skateboard, but it's basically, I'll put a picture up if I can. I was playing with this skateboard that it was kind of like a square, and it had 2 handles on the side and 4 wheels on it. So I was playing with one of those, and it's recess time. I'm having fun. I play on this skateboard, and there's a girl that wants to play with the skateboard. She's like, oh, hey, can I play with it? And I'm like, oh, no, like, I got it first. Like, I want to play with it. And usually, if you see a kid with a toy you want to play with, you either ask for it, and if they say no, then you go find something else, or you ask to share it. This girl just wanted the toy for herself. She was like, oh, I want that skateboard, and I want it now. And I'm like, no, I had it first. Like, can you, like, wait until I'm done? Like, she didn't even, like, want to share. She just wanted it. So she was trying to take it from me. And I'm like, no, give it. I'm playing with it. Like, give it to me. So basically, we were playing tug of war at this point. We're playing tug of war, and I got mad at this point. I'm like, you know what? Fine, have it. And I just let it go. And it hit her in the nose and caused her to have a nosebleed. So I was like, oh, snap. Like, obviously, I didn't mean to do that. I was just like, I'm tired of you, like, trying to take this away from me. So I let it go. I'm like, fine, you know what? You want it so bad, have it. Take it. I don't want it anymore. And it hit her in the nose, and it caused her a nosebleed. So she ran to the teacher talking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm so sorry. Like, no, don't go to the teacher because you're gonna get me in trouble, because I felt bad, but also it was an accident. Now, the teacher, of course, that she ended up telling was a teacher that didn't like me, and I got in trouble. I basically got in trouble. I got a note written home about how I caused a girl a nosebleed, and even though I tried to explain myself, I got in trouble regardless of the situation. Even though it was an accident, but basically it was an accident, and I tried to explain myself, but because she didn't like me, I got in trouble. And that happened. Another situation happened with a teacher in my 8th grade class. And no, before that, I had a situation in my 7th grade class where there was a teacher. I had a math teacher. I had 2 math teachers in 7th grade. And I said something to this teacher that she didn't like. I don't know what it was, but I said something to her. We had a conversation about something, and I made a comment that she didn't appreciate or didn't like or something. And so she decided to retaliate and take that out on me. Now, for people that don't know, I was in school. I was very good at math. Math was one of my favorite subjects because I was very good at this. I was good at math. I loved it because I was good at it. So she retaliated by giving me a 75 on an assignment. And I don't get 75s in math. I don't get 75s, period. I did it one time, like senior year of high school, but that's a topic for another day. But I usually don't get, like, I get straight A's, occasional B's. So for me to get 75, and for me to get 75 in math was foreign, and I was like, there's something wrong with that. So I went to the teacher asking her, oh, I noticed I got a 75. Why did I get the 75? And she told me that the reason why she gave me a 75 is because I made a comment. I said something to her in the conversation that we had, and she didn't like what I had to say. So she gave me a 75 on assignment because I said something that she didn't like. And I just stood there, and I was just baffled. Mind you, I'm like 12, 13. And I'm just like, how are you just going to give me a bad grade for an assignment about something that has nothing to do with the assignment because we had a conversation and I said something you just didn't like. Now, then I think I basically was asking her, if you didn't like what I had to say, why didn't you just tell me? Like, why did you take it out on my grade? Why are you trying to penalize me on my assignment when the conversation had nothing to do with the assignment? Like, I'm like, I don't understand why you thought this was okay to do when, like, I don't get that. So eventually she did change my grade because I guess she realized that she was wrong for what she did. But like, if I didn't say anything, I would have had that 75 and gotten in trouble for getting a 75 when it wasn't even my fault to begin with. And that's the reason why I bring this up is examples of adults basically treating kids like trash, treating kids like dirt, being disrespectful to kids because they either don't like something about us and then they treat us like dirt because they feel like, oh, well, I'm the adult. I can do whatever I want to this kid because they have no authority. I'm the authority figure, so I can do whatever I want. Now, you could say that those are just examples of like adults just taking advantage of their power, and I agree because that is. However, those situations, which is very far and few, and basically those are just examples of how growing up I had a few instances with teachers that now me being a good student overall, I still got disrespected by some teachers, and by the time of high school, I have had enough of adults treating me dirty, like, because I'm like, I've already have a lot of people just disrespecting me because of my youth and because of when I had to say something, they don't agree with it, so they bash me for it. And I'm like, I'm sick and tired of being treated like this. This is not fair. This is not right. Like, if y'all don't like what I have to say, and if I'm saying something out of ignorance or because I just don't know something, educate me on it properly. Don't just yell and scream at me about what I said was wrong and then just walk away or like just degrade me as a human being, like as if I'm not a human myself. Like, kids are humans too. Like, how do you expect young people to grow and develop and become the better generation when we're constantly being bashed for every single mistake we make and being told that everything we say and everything we do is bad and how terrible we are as a generation? How do you expect us to grow if you keep shutting us down, if you keep bashing us? It's mind-boggling to me. So in high school, I was fed up with teachers specifically being disrespectful to students. So in high school, whenever I had a teacher disrespect me, I basically was like, what you're not gonna do is disrespect me, because I've had enough of teachers doing that in the past and the thing about it is that whenever I didn't stand up for myself, like in 7th grade, I did stand up for myself because I was like, why are you doing this to me? Like, if you didn't like what I had to say, why didn't you just tell me? Like, I would have apologized, and like, if I said something wrong, I would have said sorry, but you didn't even give me the chance to like hold myself accountable and apologize and grow from that moment. You just decided to punish me thinking that was gonna solve something. Like, that didn't solve anything. That just made me like you less. Like, and the rest of that, I think the rest of the school year, like, I was like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that to me? Anyway, so then I had another instance in 8th grade where basically I had a teacher, my friend was next to me and she was arguing with the teacher. Now, my friend, I love her, but she had a mouth in middle school. She really did have a mouth, and she was basically arguing with the teacher. She was in the wrong. She was arguing with the teacher, and I was sitting right next to her. So the teacher and my friend are arguing, and I'm sitting right next to her, and I'm like, okay, my friend's kind of doing the bad thing. I gotta tell her to stop talking. So I was trying to tell her, hey, you gotta stop. Like, you're not, like, you need to stop arguing with the teacher. Like, he's a teacher. Like, and it's not to say, it would be different if, like, what she had the right to argue with him about, like, if he was being rude or anything, but he wasn't. I don't know what the conversation was, but I just knew that she was in the wrong, so I was trying to, like dissolve the situation and, like, tell her to stop talking, and he got mad at me, and he was like, don't start talking, like, who are you to talk, blah, 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 and I'm like, I'm trying to help you. Like, why are you getting mad at me when I'm literally on your side? I'm trying to tell my friend to stop talking, being disrespectful to the teacher so we can continue with the lesson because she's being disruptive, and you're mad at me? And I got in trouble. And I was like, I can't do this. So that was my last straw, and that's why in high school, I remember a lot of people, like, basically was saying how, like, I didn't take any teacher's crap, because I didn't, because I had examples in my life where teachers would just walk all over me, and I didn't like it. It felt like dirt and trash, and I didn't like seeing adults that were meant to influence me treat me like trash. Like, you know how it feels to be a kid and constantly being told that your opinions don't matter, that everything you say is like nothing because you're young, you don't know what you're talking about, you're immature, you're this, you're that, being called names all the time, half the time when you give an opinion. It is so damaging and it is so annoying and hurtful to have to deal with. So by the time I got to high school, I was tired of it. I was like, I am sick and tired of you teachers treating me like trash. And I'm the good student. Like, good students are supposed to be treated better than this. Like, it would be one thing if I was deliberately being disrespectful 24/7 and the teachers were telling me about myself in a way that was, like, responsible and correct. But no, I was helping a teacher and I got yelled at for it. An accident happened when I was 5 and I got in trouble for it. Instead of, like, being held accountable in the proper way, I just got in trouble. And she also said stuff about me. It was crazy. That teacher, when I was 5 years old, she was out to get me. She didn't like me. She said very rude things about me. It was weird. So basically, after 8th grade, I was tired of it. So in high school, whenever there was a teacher that would say something to me or was like being rude to me, I basically retaliated in the sense of I talked back. Because I was like, I'm not gonna keep letting teachers walk all over me and me be defenseless. So I stood up for myself. And weirdly enough, those are the times where I didn't get in trouble because I basically stood up for myself. Because there was one time when I was 16 and it was my 16th birthday and I was in school. And I think it was in a global studies class or something, but I was in the history class basically. And I got a phone call from like a relative that was telling me happy birthday. So I got a phone call, and I had my phone in my pocket and I was getting a vibration from my phone. So I just walked outside the class. I'm like, oh snap, like someone's calling me. I need to go answer. So I quickly just stepped outside the classroom and I answered the phone. They was telling me, oh, happy birthday. I was like, oh, thanks. Like, and I was going to tell the relative like, oh, hey, thanks. But like, I'm in class. I got to go. And because I stepped outside the class, because I just walked out without asking permission, the teacher got mad at me. And they got mad at me. So then they walked out of class and was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, like my relative called me to tell me happy birthday. You know, I was like, I don't care. You don't step outside the class like that. You're supposed to be inside the class. You need to ask for permission. You need to make sure you don't answer your phone. Blah, 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 blah. And I was just there like, are you kidding me? I was just there like, and mind you, the relative's still on the phone. Like, they're hearing all of this. I'm getting screamed at because I just walked outside the classroom so that way I could tell my relative, thank you for telling me happy birthday, but I gotta go because I'm in class. Now, the proper way I had to handle the situation was, oh, hey, why did you step outside the classroom? Oh, like, someone called me. Okay, next time, make sure that, like, you, like, let me know, like, oh, hey, I gotta handle a phone call. Like, let me know why you're stepping outside the classroom because that's a bit disruptive, blah, blah, blah. Because I think I was in the front, so, like, for me to step outside the classroom, maybe it distracted him and it got him upset. Or, like, he got distracted and he was like, oh, like, you know what's going on. Now, if he would have talked to me and had a civil conversation with me about why what I did was wrong, I would have been like, oh, you're right, I'm sorry, won't happen again, it was just a one-time thing. But instead I got yelled at and screamed at about something simple as just answering a phone call. So I went back inside, and the rest of the period I was just pissed because I'm like, I just got yelled at for something so small and simple as answering a phone call when I was like, I don't understand why that was done. It didn't have to be done. So there were other times with this teacher in particular would get into arguments with other students, and I was included sometimes, because sometimes he would just have snappy remarks, and I was like, you're not gonna get mad at me and yell at me again, or like do that. So no. So I did retaliate. I did have a few arguments with that teacher. Now, was that teacher a bad teacher overall? No, because you know the teacher was a great teacher. They held it down with the U.S. history regions and all that stuff. So like I did overall, the teacher was a great teacher. But there were some times when that teacher was a bit rude and would just be snappy, and I'm like, hey, don't be snappy. Like that's not nice. Like you did not have to yell at me about me answering a phone call. You could have literally just been like, oh, hey, like next time just like tell me that you had to answer the phone call, or just like quietly step out of the classroom, like because that's not the proper way how to do it, blah, blah, blah. That was a way for him to educate me on what to do when I had to answer a phone like that. Because like, what if, God forbid, what if that was a phone call saying that I had to go to the hospital because my mom or my dad or someone was in the hospital and I had to go somewhere? Like, what if it was an emergency and you're over here yelling at me about a phone call? Like, weird. The whole point of this is basically just to say that in high school, I had like, you know, instances where I had adults basically just yelling and screaming at me over little mundane stuff like that. And I was sick and tired of being disrespected. And because they felt like they were able to talk to us like that because they're the adults and we're the kids. And it's like, no, we deserve respect too. Like, and I'll give another example. My senior year of high school, there was a time where we had senior skip day. It's very common for seniors to skip. We had one senior skip day. All the drama that happened in high school, there was this one time we collectively as a class decided to be a unit and have one day where we all just skipped school. I think like 1 or 2 kids went to school that day, even because they really couldn't skip school. But I did skip school because I told my parents, I was like, oh, hey, we're going to skip school. We're going to go to Coney Island Beach. And at first my parents were like, you skipping school? I'm like, yeah, senior skip day. Like, I'm telling you where I'm going. Like, I'm telling you that I'm skipping school. It's a senior skip day. Everyone's skipping school. And it's one day. It's my senior year. Like, come on. Give me a break, like, and they were fine with it, like, because I told them where I was going, and I let them know, hey, I'm not going to be in school, because I'm like, why would I lie about me skipping school, when if I skip school, they're going to call you and tell you that I'm not in school, so why would I put myself into that trouble of pretending I'm in school, and then for them to call you, say, hey, I'm not in school, and then you're like, oh, are you in school? Oh, yeah, I'm in school. No, you're not. They just called me telling you that you're in school. Come home. Why would I do that to myself? So I was like, I didn't need to do that to myself. So I decided to just avoid trouble and just let you know up front, hey, I'm skipping school, but I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to be friends. We wasn't doing anything crazy. We're just going to the beach. The next day, we got ripped a new one in every single period. And I understand. I get it. We skipped school. They didn't appreciate it because they had material prepped for us. And we wasn't there, and it felt like we wasted their time. I understand the frustration, but at the same time, first of all, no offense, like, I understand that y'all were preparing for, like, a class and you wanted to, like, teach us. But to be honest, all the issues that these teachers have brought to us because of, like, issues that they were dealing with and, like, the way how they treated us that senior year, I'm like, I'm sorry, but y'all literally was putting us through the trenches this entire year, and we did one thing, and y'all want to act like as if y'all were the perfect people this entire year. So every period of that day, we were getting yelled at by a teacher. One teacher yelled at us about skipping school, another teacher yelled at us about skipping school, and then in our third period, there was another teacher yelling at us about skipping school. And I had it. I could not deal with it anymore. Like, I'm kind of shaking because, like, I'm trying not to, like, stay. I'm trying to keep composed about this because I remember just being so angry at this situation because I was just like, no disrespect to any of the teachers, but y'all literally are ripping us a new one about us skipping school one day when literally, first of all, one of you teachers can't even grade stuff in on time. You want to give us work to do in 2 weeks, but yeah, you take more than a month to grade it. You want to talk about how we need to learn how to time manage, but yeah, you can't even manage the students that you have. You can't even time manage, but you want us to time manage. You're a hypocrite. You over here being rude to students, talking about them behind their backs, and then, like, I'm like, you literally are a talker. You are a gossiper as an adult. Like, I don't understand why you're talking. You. And then this last teacher, I just like, every teacher has multiple flaws. And basically, it's just like they were acting like as if they were the perfect people in the situation when they weren't. Like, we just had one day we wanted to skip school. We're seniors. We're going to do stuff. Like, we're kids. I'm like, just give us grace this one time. And this other teacher, basically, I'm not going to get into the beef. I'm not going to get into it. But I didn't have beef with this teacher, but I was just like, I'm like, you want to talk about us missing one day of school? Bestie babes, you was gone for months. So, like, I'm like, I don't want to hear anything from you because we missed one day. You were gone for a long time and gave us no work to do besides just a packet. And you didn't even, like, with my class in particular, we were meant to be, like, basically, like, learning more than the other classes. We were learning the same thing as everyone else. Like, first of all, you're not even teaching us the proper material you're supposed to be teaching us. You were gone for half the year, and then you come back and ridicule us for missing one day of school. I was like, I had enough of you teachers doing me dirty. I was just so I remember how I was mad. I was so upset because I was mad because I was just like, first of all, I already heard 2 other teachers yelling at us about this thing. But then, like, I'm like, why do y'all think y'all get to just keep doing this? And I'm pretty sure they did it to every single class. Like, every single class was yelled at about this thing. And I'm like, y'all not tired? You're not tired. Like, I understand the first period being annoyed, but for you to repeat the same speech to every single class for the whole day, like, bruh, I couldn't take it. I couldn't deal with it. So I lashed out at the teacher in the sense of they were talking to us about how annoyed they were about what we were doing and how we skipped school and how some of us is not even passing the class. Like, y'all can't even afford, some of you can't even afford to be skipping school because you're over here. And then what I also didn't like was the teacher was poking jabs at other people. Like, oh, because basically in our senior year, a lot of people would just go to the bathroom. They wouldn't go to class if you go to the bathroom. They would skip class. And some of them were skipping class to skip class because they didn't care about the education, whatever. But there was other people that would go to the bathroom because something happened in their personal life and it was affecting them and they had to take a moment to breathe. Or sometimes we would go to the guidance counselor. The guidance counselor was basically our therapist. Like, that man held it down. That man, like, heard, yo, my senior class was going through it. We were all going through a bunch of stuff. And this teacher was talking about all that stuff, saying how y'all want to go to the bathroom, y'all want to skip class, and y'all over here talking about how you're crying about possibly failing, but if you would just come to the class, you would be failing. And the people that they were talking about, first of all, a portion of them weren't even in the class. I think she was talking about one person in the entire class, but she's talking to the whole class about this one person situation. And basically, I was just like, I am sick and tired of you teachers yelling at us about something that, first of all, has nothing to do with me. You're talking about people failing the class, but yeah, I'm literally the top student in this class. Like, well, I wasn't anymore. I was at one point, but I flopped my grades because I was going through it. But I was a top student. Like, I was in the top 5. I'm nowhere near failing your class, first of all. Second of all, like, why you, and if you have problems with people missing out, talk to them about the situation, not to me. Why am I having to hear something that has nothing to do with me? So basically, I let the teacher have it because I was yelled at by 2 other teachers. I couldn't take it anymore. And the reason why I lashed out, it was not to be disrespectful and to attack her as a person. It was just because I was sick and tired of the adults in the system treating us like as if we were 100% in the wrong and how we do this and we do that. But it's like, y'all teachers were literally doing so much messed up stuff to us, but let us say one thing about y'all and y'all over here screaming and yelling at us about something. And it's like, bro, let's say we made a mistake. And basically the mistake that we made, we got ripped a new one for. And it's like, y'all had no grace or mercy for the students. Y'all over here ripping us a new one about every single thing we did. But yet y'all over here making all these bad decisions and all these bad mistakes and all these flaws. But yet when you make a flaw, it's you just being a human being making mistakes. But when we make a flaw, it's us being the worst people in the entire planet and how we're disrespectful, we're this, we're that. We get called all these names because we're a human being making a mistake. But when you make the mistake, it's fine. But when we make it, it's not. And I had it. I just couldn't take it anymore because I'm like, why is it that every time when we're getting older, we get ripped apart by the adults in our lives? And I couldn't stand it. I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why adults get to make mistakes but kids can't. I really didn't understand that. It was pissing me off. I was rage. I was like, I'm getting mad about it now because it's like I'm still seeing this to this day. Like, I'm still seeing older people treat young people like garbage. It is literal garbage. Like, I, as a 23-year-old adult, am sick and tired of older people treating me and my friends and my generation like dirt. I am tired of it. It is making me I'm so mad right now. My blood is boiling. I just wish that the older, I'm crying. No, I'm not gonna cry in this situation. I can't do this. I did not mean to cry. Cause it's just like, I'm just sick of it. And in high school, I was sick of it. In college, I was sick of it. Cause in high school, I was like standing up for myself as an individual, but also like, growing up, I was like, I'm sick and tired of adults treating me like trash. It's tiring. It's tiring. And in my 20s, basically, this reflects in my 20s. Trust me, believe. But in my 20s, I have come to a realization that I'm sick and tired of older people treating me like trash and treating my generation like trash. And then you want to say that we're this bad generation, we're this, we're that, but we're being this bad generation because, first of all, we're just emulating, we're just repeating what you're doing because we see you treating us like trash and we're like, hey, Why are we being treated like dirt? Why are we being ripped apart a new one for a mistake we make? But then when you make a mistake, everything's all peachy perfect and fine. Oh, well, I'm a human. I made mistakes. Yeah, but so am I. I'm a human too. I make mistakes. And because I'm younger, I'm supposed to be given more grace because the mistakes that I'm making, I'm supposed to learn from and develop as a human being to become a better person. But I can't become a better person when every mistake I make, I'm getting ripped apart for a new one over every single one. It's not fair. And I understand that, like, you know, there are, and I do get that other people and the youth are disrespectful, are this and that. And I will give an example. There was an example in my life where I was being disrespectful to an adult. I was. And the reason why, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. The reason why I was disrespecting this adult is because I saw how they treated a friend of mine dirty. They did my friend dirty, and any respect I had for this person depleted. I lost respect for this person because it was bad enough that throughout the year I was seeing little things that this adult was doing to students, and I was like, that's not right. But this final thing, it just set me off, and I was just like, I have no respect for you because you have shown throughout this entire year how you pick and choose how to treat people. Some people you treat with respect and laugh and kiki with. Other people you just rip them a new one, disrespect them, talk about them behind their back to other students, and act like as if it was okay, like as if you did nothing wrong. But yet here you are, a student made a mistake, and you're gonna just treat them, just do them dirty. So I had it. So with that person in particular, I was being disrespectful because I just felt like there was no respect that this person was giving to other people. So I was like, why should I give you respect when you don't respect people? When you don't respect. Now, this person did nothing dirty to me personally. Like, this person treated me fine. Like, I was one of the top students. I did my work. I got the stuff done. I had nothing against, like, they did nothing against me. But because they did something against to my friend, it was an attack to me. I saw how hurt my friend was. And seeing my friend, seeing people that I love and care about hurt from someone else is something like when people do people that I care about dirty, you are now an enemy to me. And that's how I felt about this person. They became an enemy, and I had no respect. I didn't care if I was being disrespectful because I was like, you have no respect for any other people, so why should I respect you? And is that the right thing to do? No. But at some point, adults, young adults and kids get tired of being treated like trash. And at some point, we're gonna explode. And in that moment, I have exploded. That was my moment of explosion where I was sick and tired of seeing this person treat other people dirty left and right 24/7 and get no repercussions. So yeah, I was being disrespectful to this adult because I felt like you have no respect for kids, so why should we have respect for you? And then there was a moment when they told me, stop, you're being disrespectful, you cross lines. And I said, you cross lines all the time. And that was me going too far. I will open up and admit to it. And I almost got in trouble for it. I did. They was like, see me after class. And in my head, I was like, F. Oh, no. I went too far. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get yelled at. No. But I didn't. By the grace of God, I didn't get in trouble. Because I think they forgot to talk to me. And I left. I was like, you forgot? I'm leaving. But that was an example of, I can own up to the fact that I was disrespectful in that situation. And at first, I was like, yeah, I was disrespectful, so what? Because you were rude to me. Now, as I get older, I'm like, yeah, what I did was wrong. However, like I said, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. Because it's like, what did you expect? When you are constantly treating kids dirty the entire year, did you not expect someone to retaliate and to basically did you not expect someone to say something about it? Like, it was just like, I feel like a lot of adults, they think that they could just treat kids however they want. Like, oh, that's my kid, that's my student, I can talk to you however I want. We are not property. Yes, we may be your kid. Yes, we may be your student. Yes, we may be a young person that you have influence on. But that does not give you the right to disrespect me and treat me like hot garbage. It does not. It does not give you the right to treat me like trash. It does not give you the right to treat my generation like trash. A lot of reasons why we don't talk to people, we just stay to ourselves, we're so disrespectful, is because we have not been shown to give you trust. When we trusted you guys, you showed us why we shouldn't trust you. When we wanted to open up to you about things, you showed us why we shouldn't talk to you about anything. Because we opened up to you about something, and because you didn't appreciate what we had to say, you ripped us a new one, or you talked about us behind our back to other people, expecting them not to say it to us that, oh, hey, such and such just said something to you. And it's just like, we've had too many people in our lives just outright just disrespect us. So we've only gone to our friends because our friends are the only ones that have shown us that, hey, I know what it's like to be treated this way. I didn't like it either. So we'll stick together and we'll just be each other's buddies and we'll be each other's guidance in this world. And do we always have the right things to say? No. But half the time, in my 3 years of being an adult, I have come to the realization that a lot of the reasons why young adults don't trust older adults or don't talk to older adults is because we have been shown not to. We have developed trust issues because we have been shown why we shouldn't communicate with you. Because if we communicate with you, we'll get stabbed in the back, we'll get yelled at, we'll get screamed at, or you'll show us that we can trust you, and then later in life you use it against us. Like, that teacher was using things that she noticed about us against us. Like, oh, you want to talk about how you're feeling, but yet you can't come to class because you're in the bathroom crying all the time. Like, and I'm like, and now I'm thinking about, I'm like, did it ever occur to you to like find out why we're going to the bathroom? Because a lot of times, like I said before, it was because people were just outright just skipping class because they didn't want to show up, because they didn't care. And that's just a matter of it for some people. Other people, there were situations in their lives that they were going through, and they couldn't manage being in class. So the only thing they could do was either go to the staircase or go to the bathroom to deal with situations. I have been in situations where I've seen my friends, they were going through something, and all we can do is just be in the staircase and talk about it, because that was the safe spaces for us were the staircases and the bathrooms, because that was the only place where we can just like talk about something, or something would happen and we were only just around each other. And the adults in the system just like saw that, didn't question, like they saw it happening and didn't ask us with genuine concern, oh, how come you guys are always skipping class? We got ridiculed for it. We got talked down to. We got stabbed in the back about it. And there were very few adults. And I'm not saying all the adults in the school or all the adults in life have always treated us dirty, but like, there was not enough adults that were like concerned with like genuine concern and wanted to talk to us. Because like I said, the guidance counselor in my high school held it down. He was a real trooper. He was nice. He was one of the few people that I remember having a good memory of, because I didn't go to him personally about my problems because I didn't trust anyone for my problems, because I felt like I'm not getting into it. But I had friends that went to him about their problems, and it was shown by some teachers that they didn't understand. And because they didn't understand, they thought that, oh, you're just trying to skip class. You're just trying to do this. You're just trying to do that. But you didn't even ask. You didn't even ask. You're making assumptions based off actions, and you don't even know the definition of, you don't even know the reason why we're doing that. Like, a lot of older adults make assumptions about us because of actions that we do. And then they just assume it's because we're trying to be bad, we're being disobedient, we're doing this, we're doing that. And half the time, that's not been true. And it's the same thing with when we try to open up about like problems that we have. And it's just like, oh, you're just saying that because you're mad that I said something about you. Like, no, I'm just trying to talk to you about something and you just don't want to listen to me because it has to do with you. And growing up, and my first, like, I would say, like, around the age of 21, 22, as I was, like, reflecting over my life, when I first thought about these things, either in my personal life or things that I witnessed, like in the video, I was fuming. I was so mad and pissed off because I was like, I don't understand why you people claim to be so wise and like, because you're older, you're supposed to have all this wisdom. You're supposed to be the ones that we go to, but yet you're the ones acting like a child. You're the one acting childish. You're the one being petty. You're the one being rude. You're the one saying that we're disrespectful, but yet you're the one yelling at us for making a simple mistake that you could easily talk to me about and educate me on and show me why to not do that again. But here you are ripping me a new one time and time again. I didn't understand. And I was mad. It made me pissed because I'm like, oh, because a lot of things that people like, you know, when you get older, you understand situations differently. You have something happen to you and you'll understand when you get older. As I was getting older, I realized, okay, I understand why that happened, but I didn't understand it in the way of like, oh, because I feel like a lot of adults, when they say that, they're like, oh, when you get to my age or when you get to an age where you have to deal with this, you'll see why I did that, and then you'll understand, that you'll come to understand and you'll agree with me. But I wasn't agreeing with anything. Like, I would say a good, like, when I was reflecting, a good 20% I understood, and 80% I was like foaming at the mouth because I was so mad. Because I'm like, you could have just talked to me in that situation. Like, prime example, with the teacher when I was 16. If he would have just talked to me about why what I did was wrong, I would have said sorry and just, that would have been fine. That could have been a learning lesson for me. And instead, I was yelled at and screamed at. And I felt bad for the rest of the period because I'm like, I just got screamed at. First of all, I got screamed at on my birthday. It's my 16th birthday and I'm getting yelled at. First of all, the fact that I'm in school my 16th birthday was bad enough. I had to be in school. And then for you to yell at me early in the day, like it was like 8 in the morning. Why do you have all this anger at a 16-year-old over answering a phone call? I didn't understand. And I'm just like, and it's like situations like that where I'm like, if you could have just talked to me. And I wouldn't have, because it's like, and it's like also another thing is like, the reason why I was just like, you could have just talked to me, because 98% of the times when I was talked down to or when I was yelled at, it hurt me bad. Like, I took it personal because it felt like, because when you yell at someone, you're not yelling at them, like, yes, you can love them, but like, when you yell at someone, it's because you're mad. And you're frustrated, so you're showing that through your tone of voice, and you're raising your voice. You're getting mad because you're mad at the situation. And when you get yelled at every time you make a mistake, it makes you feel like you are never allowed to make any mistakes, and you have to be either perfect or you're always gonna be ridiculed, or you're always gonna be this bad person that they claim you to be, and you're always this, you're always that, and that is mentally so damaging. A good 98% of the reasons why I have the problems I do now is because I wasn't talked to about situations I was yelled at or I was called names about. And growing up, that really messed up my self-image of how I viewed myself. And I am not gonna cry. Basically, it really hurt to be yelled at all the time, half the time, by people that were meant to influence me and educate me and raise me to be better people, like educate me in the sense of like whether it was a parent, adult, a teacher, whatever the case may be. Seeing that someone that is meant to teach you and help you, educate you to be a better person than them, ridicule you 24/7, it felt like, over simple things. And it's like, yes, it was like the principle behind it, and like sometimes it's like I understand that, sometimes when you love someone or when you care about someone, you're yelling at them because you care about them so much. It makes you mad that they're making mistakes or this, that, whatever the case may be. I understand that the reaction is you're just frustrated at the situation, but you can't differentiate that. Like, I can't tell that you're mad about the situation and not mad at me. Like, you're yelling at me because you're mad about what happened, not about what I did. You're mad about what this means. And I can't understand that until I get older. But then it's like, why do I have to wait until I'm in my 20s to understand that when you could have told me that at 16, 17, 12, 13, whatever the age was when that happened? Like, with my 7th grade teacher, if you would have just told me that what I said to you hurt your feelings, I would have apologized and you wouldn't have to even need to give me a 75. If you would have told me at 16 that phone call, that I shouldn't have stepped outside the class and that doing that was disruptive because it disturbed you, I would have known to not do that again. Like, oh, let me not. Like, next time when I get a phone call, I'm going to be like, oh, let me put it on vibrate. Let me put my phone on silent. Or let me just text him saying, hey, I'm in class. I got to text you. I'll call you later because I don't want to be disruptive. Instead, the next time I get a phone call, I'm like, oh, let me not answer because then this one's going to yell at me and get mad at me. Because I'm not going to understand that you was trying to teach me a lesson because of how you told me about the lesson. I'm not seeing what you said. I'm seeing how you said it. And it wasn't until I'm in my 20s. Now, the lessons that I was meant to learn at 16, I'm learning at 20, 21, 22, 23. But now, when I understand the lesson that I was meant to learn years ago, I'm like, okay, but why did you just say that? Like, it pissed me off. It made me mad. And sometimes when I think about it, like I did today, it makes me mad because it's just like, sometimes it's just like, it's so frustrating being a young adult in this world where you're giving no respect. It is hurtful. It is painful. It is suffering. We are tired of being just yelled at 24/7, being treated like trash. The reason why, and it's in all aspects of life, like whether it's like a parent to child or a student to teacher or like religion, in all aspects, adults, young adults, and children are constantly talked down to. Even in the Bible, when Jesus was on the earth and kids were trying to go up to him, they're like, hey, get away, like, don't bring the kids here. And Jesus is like, nah, let them come. Like, let them come to me. I'm supposed to help everyone, including the children. The children have the most faith in me. Like, you're supposed to have childlike faith. So don't stray them away. Bring them closer. Adults do that. They string the kids away. They shoot them away. Like, oh, what are you doing? No, don't do that. Go away. Get out of here. And it's frustrating. It's infuriating. And we're tired. We're tired. We're tired of it. And I just wish that adults would see that it is painful to have to live in a world where you're constantly being told that you are terrible until you become a parent, until you become a teacher, until you become an adult that has a authoritative figure over kids, and then you get to repeat that cycle to someone else. It's tiring, and I wish people would stop that. And I'm not saying all adults do it. I'm not saying that, because not all adults, because there are very few adults that I've seen like notice it and they're like, hey, that's not how you treat kids. Like, don't do that. And to those adults, I applaud you. I appreciate you. I wish there was more of you. And I just feel like my generation of people, we're tired of being told 24/7 that we are the worst of the worst and that we're this and we're that. And it's just like, okay, we may be these things, but what are you going to do about it? How are you? You're the adult in the situation. You claim to be the adult, but here you are. You're telling us about these flaws with no intent to help us be better. You want to talk about how I have no disrespect for you, but yet you're not teaching me how to be respectful. How about if you show me? You show me through your actions. You treat me with respect and you teach me how to be respectful. I'll learn how to be respectful and stop being disrespectful. Like, you seeing these flaws in us, but you don't want to help us solve them. You don't want to help us not be these people anymore. And it's like, why are you noticing all these flaws and not making it better, not making it to where you have the authority to help us? And instead, you're using your authority to condemn us. It is tiring. I am tired of seeing adults treat other adults and treat other kids like trash. It is infuriating. It is hurtful. And it's like, I don't think y'all understand how bad it is. Like, only we, as like other generation, other Gen Z or whatever the generation is, we only talk to our friends about it because we're the only ones that understand it. And as I'm growing, I've only been an adult for 3 years. Like, you know, technically I've been an adult for 5 because ever since you're 18, but I've been in my 20s for the past 3 years. And as infuriating and as hurtful as it is to look back in my past and realize that adults in my life could have done better, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm just saying a lot of adults treat me dirty or just like did something that was very hurtful to me, and I remembered it because I remember every bad thing that someone said to me or did to me, and either I remembered it and it messed me up for a long time, or it was too hurtful to remember, so I blocked it out. My brain just blocked it out, and I choose not to remember it. Because I'm like, I already have enough messed up things in my head that I remember that people did to me and it hurt me. I don't need more. So like, I forget chunks of memories, chunks of stuff just are blocked out of my mind because it's too painful to remember. I can't remember it because if I continue to think about it, it'll bring me true pain. So I forget about it because I'm like, if I remember it, I'm going to be having a spiral. So as I'm becoming more an adult, I think about why? Why is this happening? Why are we being treated this way? Why are we doing dirty this dirty? Oh my gosh. Why are we being treated so much like trash? And I think the realization is because the people that are doing it to us, oh my gosh. The people that are doing it to us, it was done to them. And it's oddly enough, I saw a TikTok, I think the other day, like yesterday, of this Christian TikToker, and she was talking about how how basically she had a like semi-rocky relationship with her mom, and about how like her mom caused her trauma, basically. Like, her mom did things to her that was very painful and hurtful to her, and she was very angry like growing up. She was very angry with her mom about what her mom said and did to her, and she didn't understand. But then she kind of understood that her mother was also at her age being hurt and being misguided and being mistreated, and at one point, she was being treated the way how her mom was treating her. At one point, her mom was being treated that way. And because of that, her mom just repeated the same thing to her without even realizing it and without knowing it. And I think a lot of adults, like when they were our age, they were being told, because it is not new for older people to talk down about the young generation. It's been happening for centuries. It's been happening like for so long. Like I said, in the Bible, even children were being told to like go away and shoo. Like, young people always get turned down, always get talked down about by the older people, because older people, they feel like they have the right to just say whatever they want to say about the young people without any proper way to educate them on it. And at some point, the adults that are causing us pain, they were being pained too. Like, they were being told that their opinions don't matter, and that what they have to say doesn't matter to anyone, and that they have to wait until they're an adult or they're a parent or they're a teacher or whatever the case may be, until they have authority over young people to then be able to say that to other people. Like, I'm telling you this way. And also because a lot of people are being told that when you talk back is a form of disrespect, that you are not allowed to have a conversation with people. Because, like, a lot of adults will talk about how we don't know how to communicate, when it's like, in order to communicate, I have to talk to you. And I can't talk to you because you see it as talking back. I have to talk back to you in order to reciprocate the conversation. It can't be, because if you're just talking and the other person has to just sit there and listen, you're talking to a brick wall. You might as well just talk to a wall, because they can't respond. A wall can't respond to you, and neither can the younger people, because you really tell us time and time again how we can't say what we have to say, and if we disagree with something that you have to say, that makes the situation worse. Let's say there's a teacher talking to a student and about something, and it's like, oh, do you understand that? And it's like, actually, no, I don't understand that. And then it makes the situation worse. So instead of the teacher, actually, that doesn't apply to teachers and students. It applies more to parent and kids. Let's say a parent's talking to a kid about something, and then the kid's like, I don't understand why you're mad at me about this. That makes the parent more mad, and it makes the situation worse, because that's an opportunity for the parent to, like, tell the kid why what they did was wrong, or an opportunity to just have a conversation and to maybe get a common understanding about what was happening in that situation, regardless of what happened. And instead of that being a way to have a way for the parent to communicate to the kid about what they did was wrong, to have them better understand why the parent's upset, the parent gets more mad that the kid was being honest about how they felt, and they lash out on that kid. So now that kid's learning that I have to just say I understand even when I don't. Because if I tell you my true opinion and my true feelings, you get mad that it's something that you didn't want to hear. And kids learn how to people please. Like, if I don't tell you what you want to hear, I'm going to get in more trouble, even if that's not how I truly feel about the situation. I have to pretend like I understand even though I don't, because if I tell you I don't understand, you're going to get mad at me like you did the last time. And the same thing happens with young adults and just adults in general. Like, they're being told that because of talking back is being looked at as disrespectful. Now that's come to the point where kids can't even express how they feel, because they say how they feel, and if it has to do with how the, like, if it has something, oh, like, you said something to me and it made me feel sad about myself. Oh, well, you did something wrong, so it's your fault anyway. And it's like, that's not the way how to communicate that. That's like, that's an open door to have a conversation about emotions and feelings, or about how, like, okay, I understand that you felt bad, like, because, like, what if the way how you're expressing, like the topic and the guidance that you're meant to give to this person, what if it's like the way how you're saying it, they're perceiving it in the way that you're not, like, you're giving a valuable lesson, but it's not perceived properly because of your tone, or because of how you're saying it, or because of the situation, and because of you reacting based off your emotions and not based off your wisdom. Like, what if the reason why people aren't perceiving your words the way how you intend them to be perceived is because of the way you're saying it, or what you're saying? Like, you know what you're trying to say, but you can't articulate it properly because of your emotions. And if you would just take a step back to realize that, like, come back to the situation. Or, like, let's say you retaliate, but then you realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You go back to that person and, like, either apologize or talk about, okay, I may have overreacted, or, you know, I yelled at you earlier, but the reason why I did that is because of X, Y, and Z. That's showing that person, that kid, that young adult, that you have emotions too, and sometimes you act out of character, but that's not who you are as a person. And you acknowledge that, and you hold yourself accountable, or you just acknowledge that, hey, sometimes I slip up and I gotta hold myself accountable, or sometimes, you know, because I care about you so much, I retaliate in certain ways, because I just care about you so much, I don't know how else to respond, but I know that maybe I shouldn't have reacted to that extreme, and we can talk about it now. We can be more civil about the conversation now. That doesn't happen often enough, and it should happen more often, because and again, like I said, I think the reason why a lot of adults that are doing it to us, it was done to them, and they were told that this is the only way how to discipline. This is the only way how to talk to other people. This is the only way how to educate the younger people, by screaming at them and yelling at them and calling them names. And we're like, no. That's hurtful. That's painful. I don't like that. I don't like being talked down to and being treated like a peasant because I made a mistake. Like, no, talk to me like a human being. Like, don't wait until we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s to then give us the respect that we should have gotten at 12. Show me how I need to be respectful by giving me the respect that you want me to give to you. Treat others how you want to be treated. That includes kids. That includes young adults. That includes everybody. Treat a kid how you would want. Because if For religious people, if God treated you the way you treated your kids, your students, the people, the younger people that you're meant to influence, if God treated you the way you treated them, you would be crying in your sleep every night for like years. If God held you up to the standards that you hold other people to, you would not be treating people the same way that you do now. You wouldn't. And I think it's like some people, they don't even realize that that's what they're doing. But then when someone tries to tell them, they're like, oh no, like you're wrong, I'm right. But then they realize that, okay, maybe they were right. And then they'll change, but they won't acknowledge that, okay, yeah, you were right, my bad. You know? And I think it's just because as you get older, you realize that the pain that you've experienced could have been avoided if that person knew how to handle the situation better. And that's why it made me so mad and upset, because I'm like, y'all claim to be these wise people, but yet you're acting foolish. You are reacting in foolish ways, in the sense of you are reacting based off your emotion and not based off your wisdom. You have the knowledge and the power to educate me in a proper way, but because of the situation and because of your emotions take over and you just act out of character, act outside your character. You are better than how you reacted, but because of your emotions take over and you just retaliate and you just yell and scream at us. When in reality, you wanted to talk to us about the situation, but because of your feelings took over and it overtook you and you just was off the wire. And when I got to understanding that basically the adults in our lives were treated the way they were treated that way, and maybe arguably worse, or just they were treated the same way, and this is the only way they knew how to discipline people. And that's why it's being done to us. It has me not excuse it like, oh, they were treated that way, so now what they did was okay. No, it doesn't excuse what you did. It just helps me understand why you did what you did. And now that I know why, now I know to treat you with more empathy and with more sympathy and to be more patient with you when you react that way. Because now I can see it. I'm like, okay, you're not mad at me, you're mad at the situation. Like, you yelled at me at that time because you were mad about what happened. Like, there were situations where I did something and I didn't understand why people were so mad at me, and now I understand, like, oh, because either it was doing with my safety. Like, there was a situation that happened where I was trying to be helpful, and by me being helpful, it actually put my safety in danger somewhat, and basically I got in trouble for putting myself in danger, basically. And I didn't know that that's why I was being yelled at, and I had to look back at it like a few years ago, and I'm like, oh, that's why they yelled at me. But why couldn't they just tell me that? Why couldn't they just say that? The reason why we are not happy with what you did is because you put yourself in danger, and we don't want to see you hurt because we care about you. If that was explained to me, I would have been like, oh my gosh, like, by no means that I was trying to do that. Like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Or, okay, so how can I be helpful while also making sure I'm safe? That could have been an open conversation for understanding how I could be a better person and not do that again. But instead, it was, okay, I'm being yelled at, or I'm being talked down to about a situation where that it could have been handled a lot better, and it wasn't. And now I'm like, okay, I understand that that's why you were upset, and I understand why you were upset, but that doesn't make what you did okay, because that situation caused me a lot of harm and pain, and I had to deal with that without even realizing, like, it could have been avoided if you would have just talked to me better about the situation. So now I'm just like, okay, so now that I notice these things, I don't hold it against people, but it's just like, I just wish y'all would understand that this is what you're doing. Because some people, they'll just do things and then, like, they'll be told about it and they're like, no, you're wrong, I'm right because of who I am. And it's like, no, like, you're wrong. But you won't admit to it because of pride, or because you admitting that you're wrong also means that you had to admit that you caused people pain, and you didn't mean to cause people pain, so it makes you feel bad about yourself. So instead of you feeling bad about yourself, you would rather not feel that pain and you just deny it. So you're in denial about the pain that you caused, even though you know that what you did was wrong. So you would rather deny it so that way you won't have to face the pain, rather than just owning up to it and, like, apologizing. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I had to blow my nose because I was getting emotional. But yeah, so as you can tell, like, this is, like, something that I've noticed growing up, like, getting older. I've noticed that, and I've noticed a lot, like, growing up, because of situations in my life, but also my friends, and just the like seeing on, especially on TikTok, because it's very like hurtful to see my generation of people be hurt by so many other people in their lives, that like the people that they're meant to go to for guidance and help are the ones that are causing them pain. So it's like, when the people that are meant to help you are causing you pain, who do you go to? And yes, in a Christian answer, the answer is God. But sometimes a lot of the reason why a lot of Gen Z and a lot of young adults don't go to church is because the people that were meant to guide them to church led them astray. They didn't do enough for them. Oh, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Oh, why don't you believe in God? Oh, why are you doubting God? Oh, why are you asking all these questions? This is not blah, blah, blah. Why aren't you feeling enough? Why aren't you showing appreciation? Why aren't you being grateful? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? Why? And that's leading the people astray. And when they're like, oh, I don't really know that. Oh, why don't you know that? Oh, I don't really feel that way. Oh, why don't you feel that way? And it's like, we're being condemned for not feeling the way you feel. And instead, you're supposed to be an example as to how we're supposed to love God and appreciate God, but here you are condemning me for not being like you, when you're supposed to show me how to do that. You're supposed to be the first representation of how I'm supposed to be, my relationship with God is supposed to be, but here you are condemning me for not feeling the way you feel, when you're the one who knows, you're the one supposed to know more than me. You're the one supposed to guide me to Him, but here you are pulling me away without even realizing it. A lot of Gen Z people, they didn't get to develop a relationship with God because the people that are meant to bring them towards God made them feel bad for not doing it exactly the same way as them, or made them feel bad because they really don't understand, or they don't, like, they're like, oh, I don't kind of see it that way, or because we're doing things differently, like we're dressing differently, we're doing things differently than them. And the amount of people that I've seen on social media talk about how they don't like going to church because of the way how they dress is sad. Because there was this YouTuber that I watch, how she said that she goes to church, and churches that she went to before, because she would wear casual outfits, they would look down on her about it. Like, oh, why are you dressing like that? Well, like, oh, they'll give her dirty looks, or like she can tell that they're judging her because of her outfit, and that led her to not want to go to church anymore. They're like, okay. And it's like, how are you supposed to get to know God? The people that are meant to help you know God are ones leading you astray. I can't know about God if you're the one that's supposed to help me. I'm supposed to get a mentor, but here the mentor is hurting me and causing me harm. And it's trauma. And people say it's church hurt. I personally don't like, I think the word hurt, as an English major, I'm going to go into it. The connotation of hurt and trauma are two different levels. Because when you say someone's hurt, it's like you get a paper cut. That hurts. Like, oh, that hurts. But then after like a few seconds, it goes away. So it's like, hurt is like temporary. Trauma is more semi-permanent. Like, I would say hurt is semi-hair dye, and trauma is permanent hair dye. That stuff sticks, and the only way how to get rid of it is like getting color remover. Basically, color remover could be therapy, going to God, you know, stuff like that. It's like, there's deeper, like, being traumatized by something is deeper than just being hurt by it. Like, you can hurt your knee, but then a few seconds later, you're fine. But when you're traumatized by something, that's when it sticks longer, and it takes you longer to heal from it, especially when the person doesn't hold itself accountable. And that's like, that is also part of this, because it's like, I've seen a lot of people my age. A lot of people my age aren't religious. They don't go to God because they had so much negativity connotated to Christianity. And it's our fault. It's Christians' fault for that. Because the older Christians, or Christians, even young ones too, they penalize people for not knowing God, when we're supposed to be having open doors and showing them God's love. God had unconditional love, but here we are having conditional love. Because someone may be gay, now all of a sudden we want to treat them like trash and tell them they're going to hell. Oh, you're going to go to hell. God doesn't love you. How dare you? Because someone wants to get an abortion. Oh, you're killing people. How would you like it if God killed you? How would you like it if your mother aborted you? Oh, you're going to hell. You're condemned. We're doing that to them because they have a different mindset than us. And instead of us being like, okay, like, are you going to just let them do that? That's not a conversation I'm going to have today, because that's not what this episode's about. But, or this video, this essay, whatever this is about, but we're supposed to be guiding them the right way. And we're supposed to be showing them love. God wouldn't tell the gay community that they're going to hell. God would never do that. He would open the door and show them, hey, I love you. I want you to come to me because I am the way, the truth, and the light. I am the way to go to God. I'm the way to help your relationship with God connect. Because right now, your relationship with him is spiritually dead. Not because of because you like the same gender or because you feel like you want to be a different gender, that's why you're going to hell. No, that's not the reason why. The reason why is because you haven't declared Jesus as your Lord and Savior. That's the reason why. But no one wants to talk about that because it's easier to condemn gay people to go to hell than it is for you to condemn your siblings or like your relative for fornicating. Like, it's crazy how you'll condemn gay people but you won't condemn fornicators, and you won't condemn people that have affairs, and you won't condemn, like, it's crazy. Like, you want to have that type of standard, then like at least be equal with it. I'm not saying to do that, but I'm just saying, like, you pick and choose who you want to condemn. And that's what adults do to kids. You pick and choose how you want to condemn them for making mistakes in their lives, but yeah, you make the same mistakes and all of a sudden it's fine. No. Like, let's treat people the way how we want to be treated. That applies to all people, all ages, all genders, all sexualities. Treat people how you want to be treated. If you want people treating you like trash, that just shows how you feel about yourself. Because why is it that because I notice a lot of times, sometimes with certain adults, the reason why they're so angry at kids or they're so angry at people, I think something that I've also noticed, and like, I'm using parents as an example because I've noticed in other people, how sometimes the reason why parents get so upset with their kids is because one of a situation, not because they're mad at the kid, they're mad at the situation, but also, especially when there are a lot of parents that obviously they want to work for their kids to be better than them. So when they see mistakes that they've made in their life as a young person, like the same thing happening in their kid, they're like, oh no, I was trying to have them not have to deal with that, and here they are dealing with it. They're mad at themselves because I think they feel like they failed their kid. So they feel like a failure. So because they're mad at themselves, they're projecting that anger onto their kid. And I don't think that could be a reason, or I could just be making that up, but I don't think that. I think that is true. And some parents either don't realize that, or they don't even notice that they're doing it. Like, they're so mad at themselves, they're projecting onto other people. And the reason why I say that is because I feel that's also just a people thing, because there have been times when I was mad at myself for, like, and I'm using myself as an example. In high school, I became a very cynical person because I was tired of being called a crybaby. Because I cried a lot. Because every time when someone would talk to me or yell at me, I would cry. I wasn't crying because I wanted them to feel bad for me. I was crying because I felt like a failure to the person that I made upset. So I would cry about it because I felt like I failed that person again. Like, oh my gosh, here I am once again being a failure. I can't do nothing right. I was condemning myself for making them mad about something that I did. So that's why I was crying. So in high school, I became very cynical, and I didn't want to show any emotion because I didn't want to continue being called a crybaby by other people. And by doing so, I became a cynical person, but also when other people show emotion, I would call them a crybaby. And I didn't even realize it, that I was doing what people did to me, I was doing to other people. And it didn't hit me until when I was in my 20s. When I was 20, a friend of mine told me that actions that were done to me, that I hated that were done to me, that I really didn't like that were done to me, I was doing to them. They was like, hey, like, you did this to me and it really messed me up. It really made me close myself to you a little bit. Like, I couldn't be myself around you fully anymore because you kind of treated me like garbage a little bit. And I'm like, yo. I was like, whoa. I did not mean to do that. I'm so sorry. Like, I by no means. Like, I realized the people that I didn't like the actions that I despised that people did to me, I was doing to others. And it was a reality check for me to be like, oh, snap. Like, here I am, I'm trying so hard not to be like these people that hurt me, and here I am being exactly like them. It was an Oedipus Rex situation where it's like, I don't want to be nothing like those people. They hurt me so bad. But here I am being exactly like them to someone else. And I'm like, crap, I'm being exactly like them. And it wasn't that I hate the person or hate the people, I hate the actions that they were doing. And I wanted to be nothing like those actions. And here I am being exactly like those actions. And I apologize, of course, because what I did was wrong. I held myself accountable. I apologized, and we had a rocky period, but we're good. Because I held myself accountable, and I realized that what I did was wrong. And yes, I was a hurting person hurting someone else, but just because it helps them understand that I was hurting, so I hurt them. But by no means was I trying to do that. And that's why they were able to have sympathy for me, because they was like, I get that you hurt me because you were hurting, but that doesn't excuse what you did. I understand it, but I had to let you know that what you did was bad and what you did was wrong. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. So I had to hold myself accountable. And that's also why I'm such a like an advocate for like other people to hold themselves accountable to others, because it's like if adults would just hold themselves accountable, adults, Christians, if people will hold themselves accountable to what the hurt they cause other people, the world would be a better place. It would be easier for people to heal. Because also adults, because a lot of things that happen to us, we have to learn how to heal on our own. And it takes so much longer for us to heal on our own when the people that cause us that pain either won't acknowledge the pain they cause us or won't hold themselves accountable. They're like, okay, yeah, I did that, but so what? Just get over it. And it's like, no, that literally caused me to be traumatized and develop trust issues. Like, I can't trust people now because of what you did. Like, I have trust issues now, or I can't be intimate in relationships now, or like I developed issues in my life because of what you did to me, because of what you said to me, and you won't even acknowledge that. And it takes you that much longer to heal because it's just like a paper cut. A paper cut heals quicker when you put Neosporin on it. You clean the wound, put Neosporin on it, and then you get a Band-Aid. The closure that people get to receive when someone calls them pain is the Band-Aid and the Neosporin. But when you don't get that closure, it takes you, like, the paper cut will heal, but it takes much longer, and it has a chance of being infected. And infected in the sense of you have a chance of, because that person didn't hold themselves accountable and give you the closure that you needed to heal from that situation, now the infection would be you having to relive that situation all over again, realizing that you being vulnerable caused you more pain than harm, and now you're thinking that you can't be vulnerable because when you're vulnerable, it leads to people treating you dirty, it leads to people not understanding you, it leads to people not caring about your emotions and your feelings, and it leads you to be a closed off person because it's like, I can't be vulnerable because if I'm vulnerable, I just get told that I'm in the wrong anyway, or I get told it's my fault anyway, so why would I open up to people when everything's my fault anyway? That's the infection of condemnation against you being vulnerable and it being shut down. I hope my analogy made sense, but yeah. And I've noticed that a lot, like in my 3 years of being a full-on adult or whatever, and of me being in my 20s, I've noticed that because I had to do a lot of self-reflection growing up in a sense of from the age of 20 to now. And a lot of the pain that I experienced was because of hurt people hurting me, but also hurt people wanting to do better, but just not knowing how. So they did the best they could, but then what the best they could wasn't helpful. There's a story in the Bible somewhere where I don't know exactly what book, but it was a woman that was SA'd and they went to a guy for guidance, and the guy told them, just don't tell anyone that you were SA'd, like just keep it to yourself. And because of the bad advice, like the person tried to help them, like they were trying to give them advice. They weren't saying that when listening to them, oh, just keep it to yourself because like no one's gonna trust you, but it was just like, oh, like because of who the person is, like they were basically giving bad advice. Like they had semi good intentions, but the advice they gave was bad. So because they gave bad advice, that woman became desolate, or like she lived a miserable life the rest of her life. She died miserable. She had no kids and she was miserable the rest of her life. And a lot of people, like I've seen some examples of how some people, when they try to help either me or my friends or whoever, they try to help people because they didn't know the proper advice to give. The advice that they gave was more hurtful, or like it didn't help the situation and it made things worse. And that's just like, that's something that like, you know, it's deeper levels than that because, you know, you don't know how to give advice because of either you don't like, there's layers to it. So me being in my 20s, I have realized deeper analysis of life and how basically like hurt people, but also how a lot of adults don't treat kids like humans because they weren't treated like humans when they were kids. So they just thought to do the same thing to other people because they were told that the only way for it to be okay is for you to just repeat the same thing to other people. So that's how they handled that situation. And is it right? No. But that's just how it happened. And I feel like our generation, my generation of people, are noticing that this is something that we can't continue to have happen. It has to stop. We cannot continue to just treat young people like dirt just because we were treated like dirt. Two wrongs don't make a right. Just because it happened to you, it doesn't mean you had to repeat it to other people. And it may be because you repeat it because that's all you knew. Now, that's understandable. That's all you knew, but you have the capability to learn better and to develop more. Just because you're getting older, it doesn't mean you have to stop learning. You are never too old to learn from your mistakes and be a better person. That applies to anybody. You're never too young, you're never too old. So for all the people that are older, that are either that are parents, that are teachers, or that, like, you know, they're retired, whatever the case may be, just because you learned something as a kid and that's all you did growing up, doesn't mean that you can't learn now at your age now and become a better person. Because when you learn from your mistakes and you become a better person, and you show the people that you hurt that you're trying to be better, it has them realize, like, okay, maybe they didn't hold them accountable, but at least they're aware that what they did was wrong and they're trying to change. And when you see that, you're like, okay, I can heal now, because maybe the closure wasn't you saying that you're sorry, but you, oh my gosh, I'm crying. I'm very emotional. I'm doing a Gen Z thing where, like, you're emotional and all you want to do is be like, but yeah, like, when you see people that hurt you change for the better, that's the closure. That's the best closure you could probably get, because some people, they won't say they're sorry, either because they just aren't aware that what they did was wrong, or it hurts them too much to say sorry. So the best way they can say sorry is by either changing and showing you that they're changing, and that's sometimes the best closure you can get. And even though it's not exactly what you wanted, the fact that they're showing that, because the whole reason why you tell someone that they hurt you is so that way they can change, and they're changing. So it's like, okay, you see that they're changing, so now they're changing, so now you can heal and move on from that pain and that situation, and it doesn't have to affect you anymore. So I'm learning that in my 20s as well, and I'm learning to heal from a lot of pain that I had experienced growing up. And, like, I'm learning to heal from it, but also I'm learning that there's things that I did to people that, you know, I had to change for the better. Because, like I said, in high school, I was very cynical. There's also a lot of other things in high school. But high school is a constant reminder to me of how I'm constantly trying to be a better person, because in high school, I was so hurt and in pain, like, a lot, because of things I was going through and things that were said to me. Because a lot of things that were said to me is what got me the most. It's that things that were said to me really mentally damaged my, like I said, the self-image that I had of myself. But also a lot of young adults are in pain because things were said to them by certain people, and it's like, for you to say that to me, that is a jab to the heart. That is painful. And I feel like some people don't really understand the pain that they cause someone else until they physically see that person being in turmoil and pain. And some people, they'll see it and just won't care. And that's something on a deeper level of, I don't know what. But there's some people that, like, when they realize, okay, hey, I caused that person a lot of pain. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was that painful. And that was with me. I didn't realize that what I did was causing people pain until I was told about it. And I held myself accountable. And I basically, a lot of, like, people in their 20s, they're basically learning how to be the person that they wish they had. I'm learning to hold myself accountable for actions that I did, because I wish people did that for me, where they hurt me, I told them, and they held themselves accountable. I wish I had more. Gen Z in general wishes that they had more people that hurt them holding themselves accountable. Accountability is something that a lot of people don't know and don't have. The same thing with Christians. A lot of Christians, either older or younger, they hurt people and they won't hold themselves accountable because they feel like what they did was right, when in reality it was wrong. Or maybe they're just like, oh, well, what's in the past, just forget about it. It's like, no, I can't. It's hard for me to heal from it because of what you did to me. So, anyway, I don't know what I was going on about. To wrap up this whole movie of a video essay, this was supposed to be about being in your 20s is confusing, but I think it's like, this is something that I've learned, things I learned in my 20s. I've learned how Gen Z is tired of being mistreated, and we just wish that the people that are meant to influence us would just treat us with grace. Like, if we make a mistake, yes, you can hold us accountable and you can discipline us, but don't bash us for making a mistake, because when you make that mistake, you want to be treated with the grace and mercy of, like, okay, I made a mistake. You can tell me about it, but, like, give me the time to, like, you know, learn from this mistake so I can be better for the future. But we don't get that grace. We just get yelled and screamed at. Now, there are some adults that do treat kids with grace and mercy, and to those people, I applaud you and I thank you, and I wish there were more of you. And the people that have done this, where, like, maybe you realize that, oh, there's been a person in my life that is younger than me that I treated like harshly and that I did them dirty or I caused someone pain. This is not an attack on you of like you're a terrible person, because I also think that a lot of adults, when a young person tells them that they did something that was messed up, they feel like, oh, so I'm a bad person. No, you're a person that made a mistake and we're just letting you know about it. Because when you tell us about our mistakes, because a lot of times when I was growing up, I felt like every mistake that I made identified me as who I was. As like, I made a mistake, so therefore I'm a bad person. And that's never what people were telling me, but that's how I felt. And I think adults feel that way too. And it's just like, if you know that, like, if you tell the kid that what they did was wrong, and then they feel like they're a terrible person. Oh, I'm so sorry that I treated you this way. Like, I can't even do anything right. I'm a terrible person. And you would tell them, no, you're not a terrible person. You're just a person that made a mistake. I'm not saying this to you to make you feel like a bad person. I'm telling you this so that way you can learn and you can become a better person. Now, that's what you would say to a kid. That's what you would say to a young adult. That's what you would say to someone who's younger than you. Now, if that's what you would say to someone else, the same thing applies to you. If someone who is younger than you is telling you something about yourself, it's not to condemn you. It's not to make you feel like a bad person. It's to tell you about something about yourself with the intent to have you be better. Because the reason why we're telling you about this flaw in the first place in a conversation is because we want you to be better. We want you to not do this anymore so that our relationship can be better. And I don't think a lot of adults, they see it as a personal attack on them as a person. And I also think it's because when it comes to parents, I think it's because they feel like what they're doing is not enough. Like, oh, I'm trying so hard to please not to please the kid, but I'm trying so hard to give my kid the best life they can get. I'm trying my best, but what I'm doing is never enough. Why is like even no matter what I do, how hard I try, they always have something to say about me. What I do is never enough. Now, that's probably how they feel. Now I can do something else. If that's how you feel about a kid talking to you about something the one time they did it, imagine how your kid feels. Imagine how your kid feels when you do that to them after every mistake they make. Every time they make a mistake, you yell or you scream at them or you raise your voice and tell them, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Why are you doing that? Imagine how they feel. Like, if you feel that way, wouldn't you want your kid to not feel that way? Or wouldn't you want that student to not feel that way? Or wouldn't you want that person to not feel that way anymore? So if you feel that way when someone tells you something about yourself, I'm pretty sure the other person feels the exact same way. And I think once people realize that, okay, I'm not saying this, they're not telling me this because they're telling me I'm a bad person. They're just telling me this because they want me to be better. And I think once we understand that, we can move on and move forward in life. But also, once you've shown that to people, and you can show that by your tone, you can show that by the words you're saying, you can show that by the conversation that's being had, and being open to understanding that sometimes people are not going to always agree with what you have to say, but also sometimes people are going to not, they're going to be confused, and you're going to have to take the time and patience to talk to them about this mistake. Like, if someone is making a mistake and they don't understand why this is a mistake, it takes patience to sit there and talk to them with a level head and communicate to them about why that's what they did was wrong. It takes a lot of patience to do that. And I feel like a lot of adults, they don't have that because they weren't shown it, they weren't taught it, and they don't know how to have patience because they've never seen patience. They've never seen people be patient with them, so they don't know how to be patient with other people. And I feel like sometimes they try, but then when they try, because of, when you have patience, it's a trial and error. You have to keep practicing it in order to get better at it. And a lot of people are trying, but then when they see themselves failing, they get frustrated and just give up. And they're like, oh, I can't do this. So I'm just gonna give up. And I would advocate, if you're a person who's trying to be better and you see yourself kind of either you try to be better but it didn't work out, or you're trying to be better and you still see people talking about you, first of all, give yourself time to change and heal, but also give those people time to see that you're changing. But also, an example, I'm using my example. When I held myself accountable to my friend that told me that I hurt them, there was a point in time where later on, they kept bringing other things up to me, and then I was like, okay, the first time you did it, I said sorry, I apologize. Now it kind of feels like you're just bringing up more things. It kind of felt like you were just bringing up things to bring up, but also you're purposely holding back without, like, you're waiting until months and months later to bring up like something that happened when we could have talked about it when it first happened. And I said, okay, I'll apologize this time again because, you know, you're bringing up good points, but if I do something to you that hurts your feelings, tell me in that moment with respect. Don't be rude about it. Tell me, hey, right now what you're doing is an example of what I told you about before, how you hurt my feelings and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Give them grace. Like tell me about it. But give me grace so that way I can understand that I'm doing something that's hurting you and that I need time to like realize that what I'm doing is wrong and that I need to not do it again. So there's grace on both ends. There's grace on the end of the person needs to be held accountable. Give them grace to heal, to learn from their mistakes. But also the person that's holding them accountable, give that person grace to heal and change. And that's something that I'm realizing myself now that I had to give people grace as well. Like, just like how I wanted to be given grace, I had to give grace. So that's something that I'm also currently learning, that I had to give grace. Like, I want to perceive grace, so I have to give it. And, you know, when you give grace, it takes time. And, you know, things happen. But in the end, I keep crying because it's emotional. I'm a crybaby, haha, whatever. I don't have a tissue. I'm not gonna get one. But yeah, basically, I had to learn that, and I'm still learning it every day. And I think the reason why I tried to like talk about this, like just in the concept of, you know, the feud between older and younger adults and older and younger people. The feud is just a simple fact of like people feeling entitled to just treat others however they want because of their age. And I would advocate for older people to stop having that mentality in the sense of understand that because you're the older person, yes, you are more likely to have more wisdom than me because of your experience. But that does not mean that what I have to say is any less valuable than what you have to say. Just like in my video about the liberal arts major, just because your like major can like help, like, you know, build buildings and help people save lives, just because I want to study art, or like me personally, I'm studying art because that's how I love art, I love writing, I love film, I love all that stuff, and I want to pursue that for a living. Just because I'm going a different route in my career, it doesn't mean you get to tell me that my career path is any less important, any less valuable, my education is any less needed than yours. The same thing with older people to younger people. Just because I'm younger than you doesn't mean that my opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that what I have to say is any less valuable than what you have to say or what you believe. Because what if I could bring something new to the table that you weren't even aware of until I talked about it? Because sometimes, just because you're the teacher in a situation, whether it's like a parent or a teacher, teachers can also learn. You can also learn from the people that are meant to teach you. You can always learn something. I feel like a lot of people, they feel like they hit a cap in their age. Like, oh, I'm in my 70s or I'm in my 50s or I'm a parent now, so I don't have to learn anything else. I just have to teach other people. And as true as it is that you have to teach other people, you can still learn. You are never too old to learn something. And that applies to everybody. You're never too young to learn anything. You're never too old to learn anything. And I would also advocate for young people because I know what it's like. Trust me, I know the pain that we are experiencing with older people treating us like dirt. But I feel like us disrespecting them, it doesn't make the situation better. It makes it worse because it's just proving, first of all, it's proving them right that we're disrespectful with this and with that. But also, it doesn't really show grace in the sense of like, we have to learn that like when we hold someone accountable, like yes, we can hold older people accountable. But once we hold them accountable, if they don't want to perceive that accountability, we can learn to do two things. Just get to distance ourselves from them and to move on with our lives and to heal on our own paths. Or when they hold us accountable, or they realize, okay, what I did was wrong. I'm sorry. I need to learn. I need to like grow and mature, and I need to change. But it's gonna take time. We have to give them grace and not just attack them over every single mistake they make. And I feel like when people do that, it's to show them how they're treating us. Like, hey, you don't like it when I do it to you? Well, imagine how I feel when you do it to me you do this to me every day. I did it to you one day. You didn't like it. Imagine how I feel when you do it to me all the time. It's to learn a lesson. It's to show them like, hey, I'm treating you how you're treating me. You don't like being treated this way. Stop treating me this way. Once you've shown that, don't continue to do it. Like, I understand the need to like want to show people like, oh, I'm showing you how you're treating me. But once you hit that mark of like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing that? It's because I'm showing you how you're treating me. don't continue that behavior of treating them how they treat you, because then you're being exactly like them. Us being disrespectful, us like talking down about the older people and how they know nothing and how they're this and they're that, we're being exactly like them. And that's something that applies to other things too. Just like how when people use the term all men are trash. I'm going to do a whole video essay about that like phrase, because as a person, as I'm growing, I see a lot of hurt people saying things about people that hurt them. And I understand why they're saying that. But just because I understand, it doesn't mean what you're doing is right. So the term all men are trash, I understand why it's being said. I don't say it myself, because I personally do not believe in saying that, because I don't agree with it in the sense of like, not every single, because it's a generalization in the sense of all men are trash, because the symbolism behind it is because women are too terrified to be in this world alone, because half the time there are too many dangerous men out there that are just malicious and evil and have bad intentions on women. And that's just in general. So that's, I'm not gonna get into it, but us young people saying how old people, they're this, they're that, like us basically calling old people names the way how they call us names, we're being just like them. And I would advocate and I would encourage us to stop doing that, because I did it too. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, these people, this and that, like, because I always was like, I've noticed how like in some situations where it's like either parents or teachers, how they're this and they're that. And it's like, yeah, that's a flaw that they have, but it's like, am I saying it with the intent to like show them how not to do it anymore? Or am I saying that to them to point out a flaw and walk away and let them deal with it on their own? So, you know, that's something that I had to realize, that it's like, I've done it too. Like, I'm not a perfect person. By no means am I coming off as like, I'm this perfect person that needs to like educate everyone because I'm perfect and you're not. No, I'm doing this video because this is something that I've been learning as I'm getting older. And something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And either it comes in waves, it comes and goes, but also it's something that I've been seeing a lot. Because it makes me sad when I see people my age, people around my age, being hurt by older people, and the older people not understanding how damaging the things that they say and do are to the young generation. Like, it's damaging when the person that you look up to is condemning you for everything you do in your life. It hurts. It hurts when the person that claims to love you the most is the reason why you have half the traumas you have. Like, it's painful. It hurts. And it's something that, like, because it's like when you deal with something, and like, let's say, for example, you running and you fall and scrape your knee. Your parent's meant to be there to help you heal the wound. So your parent is the protector and the healer. They're meant to come to you and help you, like, clean your cut and put a band-aid, put a Neosporin and put a band-aid on it. But then what happens when they're the ones that pushed you? They're the ones that made you fall and caused you the wound. And then they say it's your fault anyway. What are you supposed to do then? They're the ones that were supposed to help you heal the wound, but yet they're the ones that caused it. What do you do in that situation? We don't know. And that's what's happening with the young generation, that the people that we're meant to go for guidance are the ones that are, like, we're meant to go to you to help solve our problems, but you're the one causing them. So now, because you're the one causing this problem, we don't know what to do with ourselves. We don't know where to go. So we're just doing whatever we think is best. And that is, like, you know, either going to drugs or going to sex or going to our friends and just, you know, YOLO, living life, getting a bunch of tattoos, like, whatever the case may be. We're doing all these things because we don't know what to do with ourselves sometimes, because the people that we're meant to go for guidance are the ones that are causing us these pains. And then we'll try to, like, let's say we go to them and then they just tell us that, well, it's your fault anyway, so just do it, figure it out. And it's like, okay, but like, I don't know how to figure it out. That's why I came to you in the first place. So now I have to deal with it on my own. But then the way how I deal with it is not going to be the right way, but I don't know any other way, so I'm going to just do it this way. And that's what's happening now. And I see it a lot on social media, especially on TikTok. Because sometimes there are trends where it's trendy for people to say what, like, there's a trend on TikTok currently where they say, I didn't develop any bad habits as a child. And then they show what habits they developed as a child, a bad habit they developed as a child because of either trauma or bad things that happened to them. And I'm like, the thing that sucked about that trend, it wasn't that like, oh, like it sucked because I see a lot of people doing the trend, and like there's too many people that can do the trend. But then what made it worse for me is that like I was like, I don't know which trait to even show. I'm like, I had a bunch of traits that I developed. I don't know which one to make a TikTok about first. And that's sad for me to say that about myself, but also for me to see other people. Like, I see so many people on social media hurting and wanting an answer. And the answer, you know, in my personal opinion, because I'm a Christian, the answer is God. But a lot of people won't go to God because the people that are meant to show them God are the ones that cause them the pain in the first place. So it's like, because people can believe in crystals and astrology. And to me, I see it and I'm like, okay, you know, like, oh, like people that, you know, you're a Scorpio, so that means you're this. I see it. And to me, it's like, it shows that people in my age range are able to acknowledge that there's a higher being and that they can believe in something, but they won't believe in God because they were meant, like, it's not because they don't want to believe in anything. They can believe in something. It's that if they had a proper introduction for what they should believe in, they would believe it. When they got into crystals and got into astrology, it was either by their own choice or someone showed it to them as a way to help them, and they seen it and like, oh, it works. So now I'm going to do it. Oh, astrology, I noticed that this sign has certain traits about them and I've seen it, so that must mean it's true and it's not blah, blah. Like, they seen a good representation of those things, and that's why they believe in those things. And if they had good representation of who God was, they would have a relationship with him. But they don't, because the people that are meant to introduce him to them show them the bad representation of who God isn't. And that's just because people are humans and they make mistakes, and you know, sometimes people just don't know how to do things properly. But it's like they're poorly representing God. And that's why they go to crystals and astrology and all these other things, because they would rather believe in something that has a good representation on them than something that has a bad representation on them, even though that is what they should be believing in, or that is something that would help them truly. So, yeah. This was a big, I did not expect to have this long of a thing. But I'm probably, in all honesty, I'm probably not going to cover really much of this out, because everything I said, I full-heartedly believe in. And I want to say this to end off this long video. I'm saying this with the utmost empathy that I can have. I showed my anger, I showed my frustration, I showed my sadness, because I and other young people wish that we can be given respect. I wish that, you know, I do wish that, like, the way how I'm being treated now, I wish I was treated like at 16, 17. I wish I was given the respect of a human being at a younger age, and I just had more open conversations with people about certain things, because I would have understood better. Because like the a lot of things that traumatized me could have been avoided with a simple conversation, and it made me mad at first. I was like, I could have avoided that pain if they could have just talked to me better. But then I realized it's probably because they didn't know how to. So there's a lot of layers to why that happened. And instead of me being upset about it forever, I can understand that they didn't know better, or that's like they were going through their own things, and it doesn't excuse what they did. I'm not saying, oh, they were traumatized too, so it's okay. No, it's not okay to hurt people just because you're hurting yourself. It's not. I had to learn that myself, and so do other people. Everyone has to learn that just because you're hurting, it doesn't mean that you get to hurt other people. It helps people understand why you did what you did, because when something happens, you want to understand why. Why would you do that? It's because I was hurting too, and I didn't know what else to do, so I projected it on you, or I developed bad habits that reflected on other people, and that I just showed how I was hurting. So now that I realized that what I did was wrong, I can acknowledge that, yeah, I did it because I was in pain, but I can be a better person. I'm not that person. I'm not the hurt version of myself. I am better than that, and I can develop and evolve and be a better person. So I'm learning that now, because, you know, I'm a Christian, and Christians are meant to do better and meant to develop and give grace and mercy. And I'm learning that in my 20s, that I had to give grace. If I want to receive it, I had to give it too. And it's not a form of weakness, but it's just so that way, one, I can let go of the pain that it was caused to me, because a lot of the pain that I've dealt with was put on me. It wasn't like me that did it to myself. It was put on me. And, you know, it's going to take a minute, but I will heal from it eventually. But I am learning that now, and I want to have other people that are in my shoes, or have been in my shoes, or understand what I'm talking about, to also heal from it. because it's like, it's hurtful to live a life to where you have to deal with that pain all the time and not know how to let it go and not know how to heal from it, because the people that you're meant to go to heal are not understanding you, or they just don't care, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that's like people don't care about me. I'm saying, like, for people that, you know, on social media that I've seen how they feel like people don't care about them and this and that. That's what I'm talking to. I'm talking to the Gen Z. Gen Z, talking to you. I know your pain. I don't know, like, other people obviously have different layers of pain because of other things that happen to them. But I know that you're hurting. I know you're in pain. I mean, look, I'm crying because of my pain. And I know what it's like to have that happen. And I'm sorry that we had to go through that. But we can be the better generation in the sense of acknowledging that accountability is a valuable thing to know. And if the people in our lives don't want to hold themselves accountable, yeah, it's going to take us longer to heal, but we should still make the motion to continue to heal. And in order to do that, we have to validate our emotions. And I want to let you know that if no one has ever validated your feelings, I'm going to right now. Any pain that you have experienced as growing up as a child because of adults in your life was not your fault. Yes, you may have done something wrong, like you made a mistake, but for them to yell and scream at you the way they did, they could have held it. They could have dealt with it better. So the feelings that you felt as a kid or as a young adult, the pain that was afflicted onto you, is not your fault that you felt that way. It's not your fault that because of this pain you didn't know how to deal with it and you either became depressed, you became anxious, whatever the situation may be. It is not your fault that you felt this way. It is not your fault that you dealt with that pain. It's not your fault. I want to validate your emotions. I want to validate your feelings. Because in order for you to heal from your pain, you have to acknowledge that it's valid in the first place. And that's why for the longest time I couldn't heal, because I never validated my own pain. Because I was always feeling like, well, it's my fault anyway, so why do I need to heal from it if it's my fault? This is a punishment. I felt like the pain that I was experiencing was a punishment, when in reality it was trauma. It was trauma and it was pain. And I had to realize that. I didn't realize it until college, because it wasn't until college that I was able to finally realize, yo, I went through a lot of stuff as a kid. Like, you know, as a kid, as a teenager, whatever the case may be. A lot of things that happened to me shouldn't have happened, but they did. And, you know, it's okay that, not okay that it happened, but it's okay that I was in pain, in the sense of, it is not your fault. I had to tell myself that. People told me that too. I had other people tell me that. But, oh my gosh, my allergies. But I also had to tell that to myself, that I am not at fault for my pain. And then once you realize that, then you can heal. And it is something that I validated my own, I validated my own pain. And once I truly found validation, when other people try to invalidate it, it doesn't affect me anymore, because I know, okay, yeah, maybe they're just invalidating me because they're the ones that caused it, or they're the ones that they just don't understand, or they think that I'm being whatever. So it's like, okay, they're not going to understand me, so whatever. You don't understand my pain, that's fine. But I know that my pain is real, and that it happened, and that I'm not just making it up. It actually happened. I experienced that pain. It was hurtful. I had to learn how to heal from it, and I'm going to heal, whether you tell me that it's real or not. And I hope that the people that haven't had them feelings validated, that you know that your pain is not your fault, and that your pain is valid. Your pain is something that you can heal from. It is not something that is meant to define you for the rest of your life. It's not. It's not going to. And that's something that I had to learn myself. I'm still learning right now. But I didn't want to wait until I'm fully healed to then talk about it, because it bothers me when I see people my age deal with pain that either I dealt with, or that, you know, I can only imagine what it feels like. It makes me mad and sad at the same time. It's very sad to see my generation of people deal with so much pain when it could be avoided. It could so be avoided. And I basically I'm working on being the person that I wish I had in my life, in the sense of holding myself accountable, being more empathetic just to other people. Also because I noticed that I'm going to have another video essay about it, but I'm noticing more things about myself that at first were told to me they were told to me as a bad thing, but I'm realizing they're not a bad thing, they're a good thing. Because You know, from example, sensitive. You know what? I feel like I should get sensitivity. I'm sensitive and dramatic tattooed on my body. I thought about it, but I don't think I'm going to. I might though. But I've been called sensitive and dramatic all my life. And you know what? They're not wrong. I'm a writer. I'm supposed to be dramatic. Like, I'm a writer. I had to be dramatic in my writing anyway. I'm sensitive. And the reason why I'm sensitive is, well, there were other reasons why I was sensitive. But I'm realizing that my sensitivity is actually a good thing because I can't be empathetic if I'm not sensitive. And yes, sensitivity can be like, you know, you have to have thick skin whenever it comes to people giving you constructive criticism. But I wasn't told that. I wasn't told that there's a difference between being sensitive when people give you constructive criticism and being sensitive because you want to have empathy for others. Like, I wasn't shown that. I wasn't told that. And I had to learn that for myself, really. And I think when people try to show it to me, I couldn't understand it because it wasn't looking like that. So I'm learning that on my own. And that's why I'm very, like, it makes me sad seeing people in pain because I know what it's like to be in that type of pain. I know what it's like to have that pain happen, be afflicted or deal with it by yourself. And I know what it's like to deal with that. And for me, God helped me. Like, I went to him because when I went to him with my problems, he didn't tell me to figure it out. He was like, nah, come to me about your problems. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you through this. We're going to go through this together and I'm going to show you what to do. And never once did God ever invalidate my feelings. Never. I felt that he would because of people that were meant to show me God were the ones that were invalidating me. But when I actually went to him, he was like, hey, it's okay. Like, you know, like for me. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go to God and stuff. I'm not going to force my religion on you. I'm just letting you know that for a person that dealt with pain and didn't know how to heal from it, I'm still healing. Like, I'm not like 100%. Like, I will be healed because, you know, God will heal me. But it's a process that I'm going through currently where I have to, you know, see things, notice things, and heal from them, learn from them, and become a better person. And I feel like me being in my 20s, one thing that I have noticed about my life was that there was a lot of pain that I never got to, like, talk about and hear from. And some of the pain I can't verbally express in a video. I can do it in a novel though. I could do it in a movie, but I can't really, like, go into details about it because it's not fair to other people in a sense because it's more complicated than it. It's not just black and white. It's very gray. So I can't really go into intricate details. And I think in the past I did before in the sense of, like, I would say the names of people that like hurt me, and I shouldn't have done that. And I shouldn't have done that. So if I ever did that to you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I put your name into the public eye, or if you felt like I was doing it to attack you. I wasn't. I was doing it to release my own pain, you know? So I'm sorry if you felt attacked when I was just talking about my pain, because sometimes, you know, people feel attacked because they know they're wrong, but sometimes people feel attacked because they can't defend themselves or because they didn't know, or whatever the case may be. And my mouth is I'm getting the white around your lips when you talk too much. That's a sign that I need to go. Don't look at me. But yeah, so oh my gosh, this is so long. Okay, I'm done talking. This is very therapeutic for me. Hold on. Alright, I fixed it. I just had to, because it was gross. Okay. But yeah, I don't know what I was saying before I had to fix that, but to conclude this, like for the third time I'm saying it, to conclude this video essay, this is a movie, I'm sorry, but at the same time I had to get it out. For the people that are my age or that in my generation that have been caused pain, your pain is valid, your feelings are valid, and I hope that you can validate your feelings, and then once you validate your feelings, you can learn how to heal from the pain. And even if the people that cause you your pain don't want to acknowledge your pain, don't let that be, like, just because they won't acknowledge it, it doesn't mean that your feelings aren't valid. It still means your feelings are valid, they just don't want to acknowledge it. And that's sometimes some people genuinely just never want to acknowledge it. There are different reasons why. Maybe they will in the future, or maybe they never will, but I hope that because they don't want to acknowledge it, that doesn't stop you from healing. It will take a little bit longer, but you can still heal. It's still possible for you to heal. And for the people that have caused people pain and maybe didn't know it, or they caused people pain and realized what they did was wrong and want to change, you still have time to change for the better. It is never too late for you to change. It is never too late for you to be a better person. You always have time to change. You can change. You can become a better person. Tell people that you hurt that you're sorry, or show them that you want to be better. If you can't, if it's too hard for you to say it because it brings you to tears and it brings you so much pain, write it in a letter, or just show the person with your actions that, hey, I know I was a bad person before, but I want to be better, so I want to do better. And I hope you give me the grace and time to show you that I'm not going to get it right away, but I'm going to do it slowly. And I'm going to learn. Like, I'm going to, like, be a better person. I'm going to show you that I'm being better. So, yeah, this video wasn't to condemn people as much as I was angry in the first half of it. And it was showing my anger because I was angry about the things that happened to me growing up and the things that I've seen happen to other people growing up. I didn't say that to attack. It was more just to express how, because in order for you to see how hurtful something is if they show you their emotion. Like, I was pissed off when people would treat me like trash in high school, in the sense of like the adults would like yell and scream at me when they could have talked to me, or when I saw adults treating kids like dirt or gossiping about them behind their back to students and acting like as if nothing was wrong. Or, and honestly, I can go into a whole spiel about teachers, about the poor treatment that teachers do. Not all, but a lot of teachers. My personal experience with teachers, but also the experience I've seen people, and just, it's just sad. But anyway, I can go into a whole SO. I can go into a whole SO. I can go into a whole different video essay about that, and about other things too. But I'm gonna close this one out because it is long. So if you watch the end of this video, you're a trooper. You're a trooper. I love and appreciate you very, very much. I hope that if you know what it's like to feel pain, that you felt understood. And also to the older adults, maybe you have felt pain and you never got your pain validated. Your pain is valid too. I don't want to just pretend like only the young people are pain. No, your pain is acknowledged too. Your pain is valid too. If no one acknowledged your pain and validated your pain when you were in your 20s, and it took you to in your 60s or whatever, however old you are, to validate your pain is also valid. Your pain is also valid. And I hope that you can heal from it. The way how we need to heal, you need to heal too. And I feel like a lot of adults, the reason why they're so bitter in life is because they have trauma that they either don't know that they need to heal from, or they don't know how to heal from it. So I hope you heal too. I hope everyone, regardless of your age, the pain that you've experienced, you can validate for yourself. You can find people to validate it for you, and then you can heal and become a better individual. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to do more of these, but I just don't know what topics. And I kind of will jump around and like kind of just bounce off. But it's a kind of like podcast in a way, but I kind of want to make them video essays to justify the length of them. Is the best way that I can. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, you can follow me on my TikTok and Instagram. They're just @AnnaTheCash. And if you want to follow my podcast Instagram, it is Random Chats with Anna. I also have a podcast. It's called Random Chats with Anna. It's on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms as well. And I do have a blog. I'm writing a book. I have a blog and I'm writing a book, and I'm posting like a few chapters of it on there. So I post on Sundays at 3 p.m. I didn't post this past Sunday because I'm filming this on the 19th. I didn't post on the 17th of July because I was busy, but I am going to post. I'm going to post every Sunday or every other Sunday, however fits my schedule. I'm going to post the best of my ability. But yeah, I'm writing a novel. I'm in the works, and I know copyright is a thing. Well, the minute you put something on the internet, it's copywritten anyway. But like you have to pay for copyright, and that costs a lot of money. It's a lot of money to pay for something to be copywritten, and you have to it's a lot of things to get it copywritten. But I do know that copywritten is an issue. But once I put it on my blog, it is copywritten, and if someone tries to take it, I could sue them because it's copywritten. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah. So that's how you can follow me on my other social medias as well, and keep in touch with me. And if you feel understood or heard, or you have comments about this topic, you can leave them in the comments down below. And if you are going to be hateful, I will delete and block your comment, because the block button is free, and I like to use the block button a lot with everything in my life. If you are hurtful and hateful to me, block. Or if you're a spam, block. I love the block button because I do not need more negativity in my life. I don't. And yeah, that's it for this video essay. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys, and you will hear from me in the next one. Bye.